and cover what we do know as of the date of me shooting this video. I'm going to refresh this real quick. Coming from the Hill, CDC is expected to ease COVID guidelines. Pieces of shit. Says the Centers for the CDC is expected to ease its guidelines on masking. This is coming right after Rochelle Walensky Act. This is not what the article says. This is what I'm saying. She just said the other day. I don't even think that was a week ago, but she was like, we're not making any changes. Masking in an announcement on Friday after a number of states this month have announced plans to lift indoor mask mandates. It's just crazy to me. Still, it's difficult for me to accept that there are people that live in the country that are still doing this mask shit. In the CDC's announcement on Friday, the agency will discuss how it will be incorporating more factors into the metrics it uses to determine whether to recommend masking. Instead of focusing only on the COVID-19 case numbers, the agency will also factor in local hospital capacity and hospitalizations. Based on current data, a majority of Americans will no longer be recommended to wear masks inside in public spaces under new guidance, the Newswire noted. Rochelle Walensky had signaled last week during a White House briefing the agency was planning on updating some of its masking guidance. We recognize the importance of not just cases, but critically medically severe disease that leads to hospitalizations. We must consider hospital capacity as an additional important barometer. We want to give people a break from things like mask wearing. Again, I don't know how y'all still doing that shit. When these metrics are better, and then have the ability to reach for them again should things worsen. So it's a game of fucking chicken, bro. Like, so they're still saying that, yeah, we may end up putting out the recommendations again. And I think that also speaks to what that dickhead Leanna Wen over at CNN, where she was like, yeah, we don't want the public health opinion to be not valued anymore, so we should lift the restrictions. It had nothing to do with health. Think about it. What new data has come out? Hell, with the CDC, they withholding data. Remember we covered that the other day. They were withholding. They won't even publish it because it may look like vaccines aren't as effective as they want them or want you to believe. Ain't that something? State and local officials, meanwhile, have been taking matters into their own hands and announcing plans to lift indoor mask mandates, with some level leaving requirements in place in schools for unvaccinated people, which is still even more hilarious. Like, hey, we're going to lift these restrictions from the people, but your children, the demographic that is least vulnerable, I won't say least vulnerable, they're the least likely to get severe illness and death hospitalization from catching COVID. That's the demographic of people that you want to fucking, oh my God. They're still masking your children. COVID is not as deadly as it was. There hasn't been much change in the death rate, by the way. If you look at the survival rate or the infected fatality rate of COVID. So this is what the mayor of D.C. is saying. Announcing the city will lift its mask mandates. It's not as deadly as it was. It's about as deadly as it was, meaning it wasn't that deadly at all for the vast majority of people. Some people died, but hey, it's what happens, man. Getting vaccinated and boosted, still putting that out. CDC, the Hill has reached out for the CDC for comment. As of here, they do not have one yet. So the CDC is possibly going to be adjusting their rules, but it's not going to be because of some new data or anything. It's just they don't want to fucking look. At the end of the day, these guys know that their public opinion on them, be it CDC and all that, a lot of folks aren't taking them seriously anymore. And the further this charade goes on, and you have spots like Texas and Florida that continue to exist that hasn't had these restrictions in place for a very long time now. And yet you have the Californians and the New Yorks who are going by strictly by the CDC guidance and all of their rules. And they're having higher case rates or hospitalizations or just as good or bad as the others that have lifted the restrictions. then people be like, oh man, are you misleading? Well, I can tell you the answer to that. You might not want to hear it. But they are trying to preserve their own sanctity because at the end of the day, they're going to attempt to do this at some point again. That's it. That's it. They're going to do it again. And whether or not they get away with it is going to be determined by the people and what they put up with. You just listened to a clip from my podcast, For Canon's Sake, which is live throughout the week at 12 p.m. Central on youtube.com/YoungRipper59 and odyssey.com/@YoungRipper59. Be sure to check out my website, ericdjuly.com, so you can stay up to date with everything it is that I'm doing. You can also become a member and get access to a bunch of cool perks and exclusive content, which includes a social media hub where you can interact with myself and other members. It even has an app that you can get, which is now live in the Google and Apple stores.